Brigadier General John Joseph Driscoll of the Massachusetts Army National Guard. I was commissioned in 1989 out of a 5-year program at Northeastern University where I joined ROTC in 84, commissioned in 89 into the field artillery. I was a distinguished military graduate. I was on active duty for 4.5 years. After active duty, I left. I joined the National Guard. Did that for about 4.5 years part-time, and I went from field artillery to infantry, and then I picked up full-time in 1998 what we call the AGR program. That's the Active Guard Reserve, so pretty much being like on active duty from 98 till 2017, which then I left that program, went on a tour down at CENTCOM, Central Command in Tampa, Florida, which I was the Chief of Operations. And then after that, I thought I was going to retire, but I got the call last year to come back to the state of Massachusetts and become an 07, and that's where I'm at right now. So I'm the Land Component Commander. So pretty much the commander of the Army side of the Massachusetts Army National Guard.
So you're like the head.
I am the head of the Army, put it that way, because there's a 2-star above us, which is the Adjutant General. So that the Army National Guard is broken up pretty much with the 2-star Adjutant General appointed by the governor, and then he has 1 or 2 generals beneath them, and one for the Air Component Command, one for the Land Component Command, which is the Army side, and then you have the Assistant Adjutant Generals.
Interesting. If you were to talk to someone who had no knowledge of the history or the meaning behind the military and stuff, and they were to ask, well, why did you do it? What would you say?
So
how would you
It's funny,
explain
you try to, I also try to get at, where are they coming from? It's like, well, how come you don't know? Or tell me, what do you know? And if you don't know anything, nothing at all. I said, okay, well, do you know a little bit about history? And then, the Revolution was fought for the rights of individuals, and that's pretty much what the military has been doing, defending our great country. But we're not just defending a person or a place, we actually defend the Constitution, which is the United States Constitution, and that's what we defend, and that's why we take an oath as a Lieutenant Colonel, newly promoted Lieutenant Colonel did. We reaffirmed his oath of office that to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, which is our government. And so when we talk to folks, the purpose of that military, and then the Army, it's the win our nation's war and defend the homeland. That's pretty much our big role as the Army. But service gets more beyond that. You're trying to tell somebody, describe an intangible. And the easiest way to do that is like, hey, think of a feeling, whether joy, sadness, love, but how do you describe that? And it's kind of like that service, that fulfillment of doing something important, working for something bigger than yourself, and really understanding that satisfaction when it comes to truly helping others and having people on each side of you really taking care of you and defending you. And the closest thing, the little snippet of that is like, have you ever worked on been on a baseball team or basketball team or any type of camaraderie that's built up, and take that camaraderie and multiply it by 10 or 100, because that's pretty much what it feels like serving this great nation.
Do you feel that it's for everybody or just certain people?
Well, everybody who serves will benefit. Unfortunately, it's not for everybody, because the reason we can do what we do today, because we've been an all-volunteer force, I believe, since 1973 or 75. I apologize, I don't know which date, but the reason is that people want to. They chose this lifestyle. But coming into that, there's a lot of people who don't appreciate it. So you can love this country and appreciate it without serving. Unfortunately, we have people who do not love or appreciate it, but then again they did because they don't understand it or they don't want to understand it. And coming into the military, no matter what political spectrum, we're all focused on one thing, and that's to defend the Constitution of the United States and our citizens, because that's our way of government.
Do you have any interesting stories from your experience that you are open to sharing or willing to share?
Certainly, any soldier always has great stories to tell. It all depends on how far or where you want to go. Whether any places you want.
What's your favorite?
So I guess the favorite story, as any military guy could tell you, is just stories out in the field. And and I'll share one. I was in the Gulf War, and again, people who haven't been in the military may not think it's funny, but people who've been in the military go, "Oh, that's funny," because unless it kills you, it's funny. And we were out there, and we're doing artillery strikes. I was artillery, and we're sitting out there, and all of a sudden, they lit a cigarette. The Iraqi lit a cigarette, and they called artillery fire on this poor guy. and it's like they call what they call the battalion 2. We had 18 guns, and so that means all 18 guns shot 2 rounds, just 36 rounds. And sure enough, we hear the guns go off, and they land. And I said to my chief, I said, boy, that's the best anti-smoking commercial you can ever have, you know. So that, again, one of my funny stories, and you know, you sit there because only in the military they will place you in situations that it is just the best of times and the worst of times all at the same time.
Yeah.